"Liberate Taiwan" and "Unify Taiwan" have been the CCP's propaganda slogans over the past few decades. By means of this propaganda, the CCP has acted like a nationalist and a patriot. Does the CCP truly care about the integrity of the nation's territory? In the early days, when the CCP set up the Chinese Soviet during the KMT reign, Article 14 of its constitution stated that any ethnic groups or any provinces inside China can claim independence. In today's words, they allowed one country, two systems, or two Chinas, with one inside the other. In 1945, the Soviet Red Army entered northeast China and committed robbery, murder, and rape, but the CCP did not utter a word of disapproval. Similarly, when the Soviet Union supported Outer Mongolia to become independent from China, the CCP was once again silent. At the end of 1999, the CCP and Russia signed the China-Russia Border Survey Agreement. In this agreement, the CCP accepted the war-won concessions that China had given Russia during the time of the Qing dynasty, more than 100 years ago, and sold out over 1 million square kilometers of land to Russia, an area as large as several dozen Taiwans. With respect to other border issues, such as the Nansha Islands in the South China Sea and Diaoyu Island in the East China Sea, the CCP does not care at all, since these issues do not impact the CCP control of power. The CCP has made a fanfare of so-called unifying with Taiwan, which is merely a smokescreen and a devious means to incite blind patriotism and keep public attention off domestic conflict.
What will you take to that office thinking
A government should always be monitored.
serious threat?
In democratic countries, the separation of powers plus the freedoms of speech and the press are good mechanisms for surveillance. Religious beliefs provide additional moral restraint. The CCP promotes atheism. Hence, there is no divine nature to morally restrain its behavior. The CCP is a dictatorship. Hence, there is no law to restrain it politically. As a result, the CCP is totally reckless and unrestrained when it acts out of its tyrannical and villainous nature. According to the CCP, who monitors it? The CCP says, "The CCP monitors itself." This is the slogan the CCP has used to deceive the public for decades. In earlier times, it was called self-criticism, and later self-surveillance, and self-perfecting the party's leadership. And more recently, it's been known as self-enhancing the party's governing capacity. The CCP emphasizes the superpower it has for so-called self-improvement. Actually, without moral and legal restraint, the CCP's self-improvement amounts to the traditional Chinese saying of demons emerging from one's own heart. Even though the CCP established the Central Disciplinary Inspection Committee and the Office for Appeals and the like, these organizations are merely for show. They are pretty yet useless flower vases that confuse and mislead the people. They are only an excuse the CCP uses to avoid external surveillance and to refuse to lift a ban on free press and a ban on free political parties. Political scoundrels use this trick to fool the people and to protect the CCP's power and the interests of the ruling group. The CCP has promoted many exemplary cadres and has often attracted some idealistic and diligent people to join the party in order to enhance the party's image. As a matter of fact, the Communist Party leaders transmitted only empty words when they promulgated the following slogans: communist moral quality and serve the people. The inconsistency between communist leaders' actions and words can be traced all the way back to their founding father, Karl Marx. Marx bore an illegitimate son. Lenin contracted syphilis from prostitutes. Stalin was sued for forcing a singer into a sexual relationship with him. Mao Zedong indulged himself in lust. Jiang Zemin is promiscuous. North Korea's demonic killer Kim Il-sung and his children led a decadent and wasteful life. Many high-level officials lose their positions in power struggles in China's political arena because of corruption. But these are the very people who promote honesty and selflessness in public meetings, while in private they engage in bribery, corruption, and other decadent activities. Many of the so-called people servants have fallen this way. The CCP does not believe in its own doctrines, but forces others to believe in them. This is one of the most insidious methods used by the CCP cult. The CCP knows that its doctrines are false, and that the idea of socialism has already gone bankrupt and is untrue. The CCP doesn't believe in these doctrines itself, but forces other people to believe in them. It persecutes people who do not believe in them. The CCP has shamelessly written such deceitful ideology into the Constitution as the foundation of the Chinese state. The CCP treats such superfluous slogans as intricate, profound theories and requires the whole country to study them. In daily life, ordinary people in China loathe the empty political study sessions. Increasingly, the Chinese people have their own ways of dealing with these political matters, since everyone knows that they are just deceptive games. But no one, neither the speakers nor the listeners at these political meetings, would speak openly about such deception. This is like an open secret. Everyone knows the game, but no one will discuss it in the open. People call this phenomenon sincere pretension. When the pretending has been gradually molded into 1 billion-plus people's thinking, and their habits have become the party's culture, the society itself becomes false, pretentious, and inane. Lacking honesty and trust, the society is in crisis. Why has the CCP created these conditions? In the past, it was for its ideology. Now, it is for its benefits. The CCP members know that they are pretending, but they pretend anyway. If the CCP did not promote such slogans and formalities, it couldn't bully people. It couldn't make people follow and fear it. Among the CCP members, there has never been a lack of righteous people who are concerned about the country and its people. Nor has there been a shortage of honest and upright officials who have truly served the people. But in the CCP's machinery of self-interest, these officials cannot survive. Under constant pressure to so-called submit humanity to party nature, they often find it impossible to continue, risk being removed from positions, or worse, become corrupt themselves. The Chinese people have personally experienced and deeply felt the CCP's brutal regime and have developed a profound fear of the CCP's violence. Therefore, the people dare not uphold justice and no longer even believe in the heavenly laws. First they submit themselves to the CCP's power, and gradually they become unfeeling and unconcerned about matters not affecting themselves. Even the logic of their thinking has been consciously molded to succumb to the CCP. This is the result of the CCP's mob-like nature. The CCP uses slogans of patriotism and nationalism to incite people. They are not only the CCP's main rallying cries, but also its frequently issued orders and time-tested strategies. In all cases, including matters related to Taiwan, Hong Kong, Falun Gong, and the collision between a U.S. spy plane and a Chinese fighter jet, the CCP has used the combined method of high-pressure terror and collective brainwashing, thus bringing the people to a warlike state of mind. This method is similar to that used by the Nazis. By blocking all other information, the CCP's brainwashing has been incredibly successful. Even though the Chinese people do not like the CCP, they think in the twisted mode instilled by the CCP. During the U.S.-led Iraq War, for instance, many people were stirred up when watching the daily analysis on CCTV. They felt a strong sense of hatred and anger, vengeance and a desire to fight, while at the same time cursing yet another war. One of the phrases the CCP often uses to intimidate people is, threatens the extinction of the party and the country, thus placing the party even before the country. The founding principle of the CCP's China is, there would be no new China without the CCP. From childhood, people were educated to listen to the party and behave like good children of the party. They sang praises to the party, even told, I consider the party as my mother. O party, my dear mother, the saving grace of the party is deeper than the ocean. Love for my father and mother cannot surpass love for the party. The people would go and fight wherever the party pointed them. When the government offered disaster relief, people would thank the party and the government, first the party and then the government. A military slogan reads, "The party commands the gun." When designers came up with the uniform for court judges, they put 4 golden buttons on the neckband of the uniform. The buttons are lined up from top to bottom to symbolize the party, the people, the law, and the country. This indicates that even if you are the judge, the party will forever be positioned above the law, above the country, and above the people. The party has become supreme in China, and the country has become the party's subordinate. The country exists for the party, and the party is said to be the embodiment of the people and the symbol of the country. Love for the party, party leaders, and the country have all been mixed together, which is the fundamental reason why patriotism in China has become twisted. The CCP has made many blunders in history, but it has always put the blame on certain individuals or groups through so-called redress and rehabilitation. This has not only made the victims deeply grateful for the CCP, but also allowed the CCP to completely shirk any responsibility for its criminal deeds. The CCP claims itself to be not only unafraid of making mistakes, but also good at correcting them. And this has become the CCP's magic potion with which it repeatedly escapes culpability. Thus, the CCP remains forever great, glorious, and correct. The CCP may one day decide to redress the Tiananmen Square massacre and to restore the reputation of Falun Gong. But these are simply Machiavellian tactics that the CCP uses in a desperate attempt to prolong its dying life. The CCP will never have the courage to reflect on itself, to expose its own crimes, or to pay for its own sins. Actually, the history of the CCP is a history that rips people's memories apart. The next generation does not know the truth about the previous generation. It is a history where over 1 billion people live in great conflict. Conflict between cursing the past of the CCP and having hopes for the present CCP, and about how they suffered through the process of the conflict. All of the CCP's efforts are to make people forget. All the people's struggles are to try to remember.
全体高举手中的烛光，像灶子样默哀1分钟。
The CCP claimed all along that it owes its success in China's revolution to the integration of Marxism-Leninism with the concrete reality of Chinese revolution. The CCP has frequently abused the term characteristic as an ideological support for its capricious and villainous policies. Another iniquitous characteristic of the CCP is manifest in its changing the definition of cultural concepts, and then using these revised definitions to criticize and control people. These so-called Chinese characteristics have become a euphemism for the CCP's villainous characteristics. The goal of the CCP's revolution was to realize public ownership of the means of production, but capitalism has now returned. Only now it's become a part of the CCP itself. While the CCP speaks about the so-called distribution according to contribution, the process of so-called allowing some people to get rich first has been accomplished along with distribution according to power. The CCP uses a disguise of serving the people wholeheartedly to deceive those who hold these ideals, then completely brainwashes and controls them, gradually changing them into docile tools who so-called serve the party wholeheartedly and who dare not speak up for the people. With the so-called Chinese characteristics, China's crippled capitalism was transformed into socialism. Unemployment became waiting for employment. Being laid off from work became off-duty. Poverty became the initial stage of socialism, and human rights and freedom of speech and belief were reduced to the mere right to survive. Under the iniquitous banner of Chinese characteristics, the CCP only achieved ridicule and absurdity. The CCP, which rules by devious means, also essentially needs a corrupt society as an environment in which to survive. That is why the CCP tries everything it can to drag the people down to its own level. No business can be done without buying expensive meals and offering bribes. No wealth can be made without embezzlement and corruption. Having mistresses has become a social trend, and the honest get the short end of the stick. The whole society only looks to money, allowing the CCP to share its original sin with its people, and attempt to turn the Chinese people into schemers to various degrees. Such a society is the environment in which the CCP feels the most secure. In the beginning of the 1990s, there was a popular saying in China, "I am a ruffian and I'm afraid of no one." This is the pitiful consequence of several decades of the CCP's iniquitous rule and of its imposing corruption on the nation. Accompanying the fake prosperity of China's economy is the rapidly declining morality in all areas of society. Corruption, malice, and degenerating social norms are commonplace. There is no longer any basic trust among the people. This is how the CCP's deceitful nature is eradicating the moral foundation that has long sustained the Chinese people. In comparison with China's 5,000-year history, the 55 years of the CCP's rule are but the blink of an eye. Before the CCP came into existence, China had created the most magnificent civilization in the history of humankind. No society in the world has stopped its progress because of the end of one dynasty or kingdom. What will China's future be? What direction will China take? Such serious questions are too complicated to discuss in a few words. However, one thing is for certain. If there is no renewal of the nation's morality, if there is no restoration of a harmonious relationship between humans and nature, and between humans and heaven and earth, if there is no faith or culture for a peaceful coexistence among humans, it will be impossible for the Chinese nation to have a bright future.
运用了一种蒙、骗、压这三管齐下。
你假如夺了大纪元这个酒瓶以后，你跳出去，对吧？自己把中国共产党的这一套拿掉之后，你会发现啊，原来我是彻底上当，我连思想自然反应都是共产党的那一套。
如果大纪元退党网上允许的话，我帮我父亲退出这个共产党。
我想这个酒瓶实际上解开了我的谜。
To eliminate from our lives the iniquitous doctrines instilled by the CCP, to discern the CCP's utterly unscrupulous nature, and to restore our human nature and conscience. This is the first and essential step on the path toward a smooth transition to a society free from the Communist Party. Whether this path can be walked steadily and peacefully will depend on the changes made in the heart of every Chinese citizen. Even though the CCP appears to possess all the resources and violent apparatus in the country, if every citizen believes in the power of the truth and safeguards morality, the evil specter of the CCP will lose the foundation for its existence. All resources may instantly return to the hands of the just. That is when the rebirth of China will take place. Only without the Chinese Communist Party will there be a new China. Only without the Chinese Communist Party does China have hope. Without the Chinese Communist Party, the upright and kind-hearted Chinese people will rebuild China's historical magnificence.